All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. Think about that sentence for a moment. It's a logical impossibility, a grammatical nightmare, and yet it is perhaps one of the most famous lines in the history of literature. It's a sentence that perfectly captures the moment a dream turns into a nightmare. Welcome to the world of Manor Farm, or as the animals would call it, Animal Farm. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today, we are peeling back the layers of a story that most of us probably encountered in school, but few of us truly appreciated for its sheer, terrifying brilliance. George Orwell's Animal Farm. On the surface, it looks like a simple children's fable about talking pigs and hard-working horses, but don't let the barnyard setting fool you. This is a brutal, razor-sharp dissection of power, corruption, and the way language can be used to enslave us. By the end of this episode, we're going to understand how a revolution meant to bring freedom ended up creating a dictatorship. We'll look at the psychological tricks the pigs used to manipulate their friends, and most importantly, we'll see why this story, written in 1945, feels like it was written about the world we are living in right now in 2026. Whether it's corporate politics, social media echo chambers, or global power shifts, the ghosts of Animal Farm are everywhere. Let's set the scene. Imagine a farm where the humans are lazy, cruel, and drunk. This is Manor Farm, run by Mr. Jones. The animals are fed just enough to keep them working and are slaughtered the moment they're no longer useful. It's a life of misery and slavery. But one night, an old pig named Old Major has a dream. He gathers everyone in the barn and tells them, man is the only creature that consumes without producing. He does not give milk, he does not lay eggs, yet he is lord of all the animals. Old Major gives them a vision of a world without humans, where every animal is free and works for themselves. He teaches them a song, Beasts of England, which becomes their anthem of hope. It's beautiful, it's inspiring, it's the ultimate hook. And then, 3 nights later, Old Major dies. He leaves behind a spark that lights a fire. When the revolution actually happens, it's almost an accident. Mr. Jones gets so drunk he forgets to feed the animals for a whole day. Starving and desperate, they break into the store shed. When Jones and his men come out with whips, the animals fight back. They don't just protest, they chase the humans off the farm. Suddenly, the dream is real. Manor Farm is gone. Animal Farm is born. In these early days, the energy is electric. Everything is shared. The harvest is bigger than it ever was under Jones because the animals are working for themselves. They create the 7 commandments painted in big white letters on the barn wall. The most important one, all animals are equal. But pay attention here, because this is where the cracks start to show. Who is leading this new utopia? The pigs. Why? Because they are the cleverest. They didn't do the physical work, they supervised. They claimed that since they were the brain workers, they needed the best food to keep their minds sharp. And here is the first red flag of the book. The milk and the windfall apples, the best treats on the farm, suddenly disappeared. Where did they go? To the pigs' mess hall. When the other animals murmur about it, the pigs send out Squealer. Squealer is the spin doctor of the farm. He's a pig who can turn black into white. He tells the animals, companions, you do not imagine, I hope, that we pigs are doing this in a spirit of selfishness. It is for your sake that we drink that milk and eat those apples. And then he uses the ultimate weapon of fear. Do you know what would happen if we pigs failed in our duty? Jones would come back. And just like that, the animal's logic was bypassed by fear. This is a huge takeaway for us today. When a leader tells you that you must give up your rights or your resources to prevent a boogeyman from returning, take a very close look at who is actually eating the apples. Before we get into the epic rivalry between the 2 lead pigs, Snowball and Napoleon, let's take a quick breather. If you're enjoying this breakdown of power and propaganda, please take a moment to follow us on your favorite podcast app. Leaving a review or sharing this episode with a friend is the best way to support the show. It's like being a boxer for our community, except without the tragic ending, I promise.
Now, back to the farm. Every revolution needs a direction, but at Animal Farm, there are two very different visions. On one side, you have Snowball. He's brilliant, energetic, and full of big ideas. He wants to build a mill to automate the farm and give everyone a 3-day work week. He wants to educate all the animals so they can think for themselves. On the other hand, you have Napoleon. Napoleon isn't much of a talker, but he's a master of the long game. He doesn't care about education or mills, he cares about power. While Snowball is giving speeches, Napoleon is quietly taking a litter of puppies away from their mothers, claiming he will educate them in private. The tension builds until the day the animals have to vote on the mill. Snowball gives a magnificent speech. The animals are ready to follow him. And then Napoleon lets out a high-pitched whimper. Suddenly, 9 massive, fierce dogs, the puppies Napoleon had been educating, burst into the barn. They chase Snowball off the farm, nearly snapping at his heels. Snowball vanishes, and he never comes back. This is the turning point. The democracy of the farm is dead. Napoleon announces that there will be no more debates. All decisions will be made by a committee of pigs presided over by himself. Wait a minute, the animals think. Wasn't the whole point of the revolution to have a voice? But before they can protest, the dogs growl. The threat of violence becomes the new foundation of the farm. And what about the mill, the very project Napoleon hated? A few weeks later, Napoleon announces that the mill will be built after all. Squealer explains that it was actually Napoleon's idea all along and that Snowball had stolen it. This is the beginning of the big lie. If you repeat a lie often enough and you have the dogs to back you up, it becomes the truth. As the months go by, the work gets harder and the rations get smaller. But the pigs have a clever way of framing it. They don't call it a reduction in food, they call it a readjustment. Isn't that a perfect piece of corporate speak? It's the same thing we see today when companies talk about right-sizing instead of firing people. The heart of the story, though, isn't the pigs, it's Boxer, the enormous cart horse. Boxer is the most loyal, hardest-working soul on the farm. His answer to every problem is, I will work harder, and Napoleon is always right. Boxer represents the backbone of any society, the people who do the work, pay the taxes, and believe in the system. But here is the tragedy of Boxer. Loyalty without critical thinking is a trap. Boxer works himself to the bone to build the mill, believing that it will lead to a better life for everyone. He doesn't see that the pigs are slowly changing the rules. Remember those 7 commandments? No animal shall sleep in a bed? The pigs move into Mr. Jones's house and start sleeping in beds. The animals are confused. They go to the barn wall to check the commandment. To their surprise, it now says, no animal shall sleep in a bed with sheets. No animal shall drink alcohol. The pigs find a case of whiskey and get drunk. Suddenly, the commandment says, no animal shall drink alcohol to excess. Every time the pigs break a rule, they sneak out at night with a ladder and a pot of white paint to change the history. This is exactly what Orwell was warning us about in 1984, which we discussed in a previous episode. He who controls the past controls the future. If you can rewrite the law, you can justify any crime.
As the years pass on Animal Farm, the line between liberator and oppressor begins to blur until it disappears entirely. The windmill, which was promised to bring electricity and a life of ease, is finally finished. But does it bring the 3-day work week? No, it's used for milling corn to make a profit for the pigs. The farm has grown richer, but the animals, except for the pigs and the dogs, have not. They are told they are living in a golden age. Squealer stands before them every Sunday, reading long lists of figures proving that they have more oats, more hay, and more water than they ever had in Jones's day. The animals are hungry, cold, and tired, but they can't argue with the data. This is a profound lesson for us in the age of information. Statistics can be the most effective way to lie. If you control the metrics of success, you can convince people they're winning, even while they are starving. And then we come to the most heartbreaking moment in the book, the fate of Boxer. Boxer is getting old. His coat is ragged and his strength is failing. One evening, while working on the windmill, his lungs give out and he collapses. The animals are devastated. Napoleon stays in the farmhouse, but Squealer announces that Comrade Napoleon is making arrangements to send Boxer to a high-quality human hospital in the city to be treated. For 2 days, the animals feel a sense of relief, but then a large van arrives to take Boxer away. As Boxer is loaded inside, Alfred, the donkey, the cynical observer who usually stays quiet, starts screaming. He reads the side of the van to the animals: Alfred Simmons, horse slaughterer and glue boiler. They try to warn Boxer. They hear his heavy hooves kicking against the inside of the van, trying to get out, but his strength is gone. The kicking grows weaker and then stops. The van drives away. 3 days later, Squealer returns with a tear in his eye. He claims that the van was simply purchased by the veterinary surgeon from the knacker, and they hadn't had time to paint the old name out. He tells a beautiful story about Boxer's last words: "Forward in the name of the rebellion, Napoleon is always right." That night, the pigs hold a private banquet. Where did they get the money for the whiskey? Everyone knows. They sold their most loyal worker to a glue factory for a few cases of booze. This is Orwell's ultimate warning about total loyalty to a state or a leader. To the people in power, you are often not a person, you are a resource, and when that resource is depleted, you are discarded. Years pass. The original rebellion is now a distant memory. Most of the animals who remember the old days are dead. The farm has been enlarged, the windmill is working, but the life of the animals remains the same. They work hard, they eat little, and they sleep on straw. Then one day, the animals hear a terrifying sound. A pig starts walking on its hind legs. Napoleon emerges from the farmhouse, upright, carrying a whip in his trotter. The sheep, who have been trained for weeks in secret, begin a new chant: 4 legs good, 2 legs better. The 7 commandments are gone. In their place there is only one: all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. The pigs start wearing Mr. Jones's clothes. They subscribe to newspapers. They install a telephone. And finally, they invite the neighboring human farmers over for a dinner party. The animals, driven by a mixture of fear and curiosity, creep up to the farmhouse window to watch. Inside, the pigs and humans are sitting around a table, drinking, playing cards, and laughing. One of the human farmers stands up and gives a toast. He congratulates the pigs on running the hardest working and least fed farm in the whole country. He says, "If you have your lower animals to contend with, we have our lower classes." Napoleon announces that the name Animal Farm is being abolished. It will be called the Manor Farm once again. It has come full circle. The animals outside look from pig to man, and from man to pig, and from pig to man again, but already it is impossible to say which is which. The revolution didn't just fail, it became the thing it was trying to destroy. So, why does this matter to us today? Why should we care about a story from 1945? Because Animal Farm isn't just a history lesson about the Russian Revolution. It's a psychological map of how power works. First, it teaches us about the corruption of language. When we allow words to lose their meaning, when freedom means obedience or equality means privilege, we lose the ability to defend ourselves. Second, it shows us the danger of the Boxer mindset. Hard work and loyalty are virtues, but without a critical mind, they are just tools for your own exploitation. We must always ask, who am I working for, and where is the milk going? And finally, it's a reminder that democracy is not a destination, it's a constant process of vigilance. The moment we stop questioning our leaders because we are afraid of a common enemy, we have already started painting over the commandments on the wall. To wrap things up, here is your Animal Farm cheat sheet for the week. First, beware of any leader who claims to have a monopoly on the truth or uses fear to silence questions. Second, watch the language. If the definitions of words start shifting to suit those in power, take notice. And third, remember that the most dangerous lies are the ones that tell us what we want to hear. Thank you so much for joining me today on this journey through the barnyard. It's a dark story, but it's one that gives us the eyes to see the world more clearly. If you found this episode helpful, please share it on social media and tag us. We love hearing your thoughts. Until next time, keep your eyes open, keep your mind sharp, and remember, just because someone tells you you're equal doesn't mean they are trying to become your master. Stay curious, stay free, and I'll see you in the next episode.